Thank you. So good to be back. I am a fan of Unfinished, of this community that you guys are building. I came in 2018, and ever since, we've always been present. Mesa is a partner for Unfinished, and I'm really proud of it. I'm from Brazil, as you can see by Olá, which is hi in Portuguese. I'm currently based in New York. And I couldn't say no to this specific Unfinished because of the theme, praxis. And Mesa is all about praxis. The tagline that we use is, we believe in doing. And in fact, I think I only believe in doing. But there is also something else. Through my praxis, I have learned that two things that may seem completely opposite are and can be simultaneously true. So I was specifically excited about having this session with Peter Conrads. And in fact, I feel that things that are opposite, they are only opposite because they are connected by the same axle, right? So slow and fast, they actually share the same axle. And I learned this idea that two things that are opposite can actually be true simultaneously through Mesa, through this thing that I do. The way we define Mesa is we are a team-based work system designed to solve complex challenges by unleashing human potential to process more and execute faster. So in 5 days, we're going to go from a problem, from nothing, just a question, a challenge, to a built solution in front of you. Sometimes we do it faster. Sometimes we're going to do it in 3 days. At the end of a Mesa, you're going to have the thing that you need, considering every single component and variable that you need to consider to start implementation immediately. I brought one example here for those of you who have no idea, haven't heard of Mesa before. From when we worked with Dutch artist Bernard Smild, you guys might know his work. He's the guy who reproduces natural phenomena. So he makes clouds. This is his most famous work. And Bernard had been trying to create a rainbow onto a landscape for 3 years when I met him. He had worked with several scientists. He had worked with, Dutch artists, they get a lot of financial investment. So he had been putting a lot of investment trying to get a rainbow done. And in 5 days, in São Paulo, we created a rainbow onto a landscape. When I met him and he told me he had been trying to do that for 3 years, and I said, I can do it in 5 days, the question that I asked is if he had ever gotten every single piece of knowledge that he needed sitting together around the same table. Mesa means table in Portuguese, by the way. This is the same logic we apply for hyper-commercial projects sometimes, hyper-strategic, engineering projects. So sometimes we apply Mesa to help the Inter-American Developing Bank, the guys in Washington who are financing all the structural things in Latin America. We help them reduce 30% of crime in small and middle cities in Latin America with the same method. Sometimes we're helping Google develop new features for their products. All of that using the same logic. Every single piece of knowledge that you need sitting one chair or one window away from each other when we're doing it remotely. We work with some pretty amazing people. Some of them have been to Unfinished. Marco Bradovic is here, is going to speak later. And Anthony Burrell was here last year. Naomi Watts. Fernando Meirelles is the director of City of God. Tia Mori, if you're American, you probably know her, and the late Kobe Bryant. And what we do is use this technology. We set a table in many different spaces across the world, and we make sure that each one of these chairs is filled by one piece of knowledge that needs to be there. One piece of knowledge and skills, right? We make sure we have every knowledge and every skill that is needed to go from a problem to a prototype. And we deal with a lot of ideas that at first people consider that are opposites. So we frequently talk about pleasure and commitment. A table, this object, is a place where you sit and have drinks and have fun with your family and friends. And it's also where you sign contracts, where you sit and work. And Mesa aims to be that, the combination of pleasure and commitment. We often say a Mesa is 100% result-driven and 100% rewarding for humans. In fact, I believe that the more results-driven an environment is, the more rewarding it is for humans. When you guys think of your year, I often say this to my team, we work a lot, we work really hard. And when we are at the end of the year, in our New Year celebrations in Brazil, they're always wonderful, by the beach, summer. And we always feel like we had a greater year than most of our friends. Because we all have accomplished so much. It's so clear to us that 2023, it's not like a year that we don't even know what we did. We actually know. We delivered at least 5 results, each of us. And we actually feel more rewarded because of that. Also, Mesa allows people to collaborate in a really powerful way, right? Like we're talking about going from a problem to a solution, everyone is collaborating. And yet, this is the most famous slide I always show in my talks. Never use the word collaboration. When I spoke at South by Southwest, this woman at the end of the talk came very pissed off with me. She was like, what? Why are you talking? We're trying to make people collaborate for years, and you're saying never use the word collaboration. And I was like, I believe in collaboration probably more than you. But collaboration is like happiness. The more you talk about it, the less you're going to have of it. And the same thing is true for process. We all know that process is the thing, the journey is the thing that makes us the humans that we are. But when you focus on the process, our experience, my perspective, is that you're not going to get it. It's by focusing on the result that you are able to experience a process. We once did a Mesa with a group of kids. And when this organization who wanted us to work with kids approached me, I said, listen, Carol, the woman who was leading it, during Mesa, there will be a time that you're going to feel that this is not going well. You're going to feel like the kids are not participating enough. They're going to be feeling like they're not letting me do what I want to do. And I want your compromise here with me, your commitment, that you're going to let us do what we have to do. And she said, okay. Cut to day 3. She comes to me and says, Barbara, the kids, they're feeling like they're not really doing, and I don't know, they all wanted to experience with the text, and all of them wanted to do it. And I was like, Carol, this is exactly what we talked about. And I tell this because it's really interesting how it's hard to focus on the result. It's not an easy thing. I had that conversation with her, and yet she was there on day 3 saying, the kids are feeling this. At the end of that Mesa, one of the kids, who was a good writer, and therefore he was writing a text, wrote a piece of text that the next day, the biggest news portal in Brazil published in its homepage. And all the other kids were really feeling the fact that they participated in that, even though they didn't all write a text. Because it is our core belief that people should do what they are great at. And the most controversial thing that I talk about is work. Work has become, recently, this word that people dread. A lot of people talk about work as if work is the obstacle for life. It's the thing that stops us from doing life. Whereas for me, work is the enabler of life. This is through work that I manage to activate life. I want to show this video. I always show it because I love it so much. My feeling is that so many organizations are doing work so wrong, with so little sense of accomplishment, so little sense of authorship, so little sense of adventure, that when they try to fix work, this is what they do. They create these gimmicks for people to like work. We once trained 2 leaders inside the Creative Shop, which is a division inside Meta, now Facebook, now Meta, in New York, and we had to do Mesas inside their facilities. And one of the things that we had to really change was their idea of food. Because for them, it was like free food. No, the best thing we can give people is like free food or hammocks or ping pong tables. And I was like, this has nothing to do with work. Work itself should be the thing that drives your sense of adventure, your sense of pleasure. For me, to work is the thing that allows me to learn, to create, and a very important aspect, to serve my community. I'm a journalist in my background, and as a journalist, you do your praxis to serve a community. And now I work a lot of times with like marketing challenges or R&D challenges, and for me, I'm still serving my community. I often think that when I go and buy a bread, I want the bread to be really excellent. I want that bread maker to have this sense that they are connected to their work, they are trying hard to make it as excellent as possible. When I have to look for a doctor for my kid, if they have a disease that I don't even know what it is, I pray that the doctor has a connection to work, that they will try to be as excellent as possible. So this idea that you should really understand that every piece of work that you are doing is supposed to serve a community, for me, is really important. And I would like to invite everyone to look at work this way. Even if you're doing something small, and again, this brings up a lot of controversial ideas again, because of course it's true that I can have that feeling, whereas other people who are not as privileged as I am cannot have that feeling. But that doesn't change the fact that you, and if you're here, my guess is that you have a certain autonomy on what you can do for work, should try and serve your community on what you do. And that feeling, that thing, this respect that I have for work, makes it very clear to me. This is when we first started doing, the very first mesas were all for artists, and then we moved into working with clients. And this is the first mesa we did with Google. My client came to me and said, I would like us to share this 9 pieces of page. You can only see 3 here, but it was 9 pieces of paper with like a really boring text, like something that I was like, really? Do you want to invite a group of people to work for you, and the first thing you want to give them is this 9 pages that you didn't even read the whole thing? And for us, this for me was really changing. For me, it made me understand how in big corporations, people are detaching themselves from work. That you can believe that this is the best invitation for someone to start solving a problem with you. And then I'll share with you guys what we do at Mesa. We create these missions, which are very short, 3 paragraphs that have a very specific structure. So the first paragraph should inspire people. You should be able to tell people what is it that you want to achieve. If you are doing anything, spending any amount of energy in your life, you should know what is the end result of that. The second paragraph brings all the non-negotiables. This one is not even the most detailed one because, of course, there's a level of confidentiality that I can't share here, but in the second paragraph, you are supposed to put every constraint. This morning we heard Timmy speaking, and he spoke about it, how he doesn't believe in this creative thing, like just go and do whatever you want. I don't even know if I believe in it or not. I just know that most times when you have some challenge to solve, you don't have the whole freedom, right? Like you have constraints. And you should be really honest and transparent, and you should love those constraints. You shouldn't be embarrassed. A lot of times clients are like, no, but if I write here that I only have, I don't know, 40,000 reais, which is less than $10,000, and I want to reach 2 million people, like we did this Mesa for an organization in Brazil. If I write this, people are not even going to have good ideas. And we're like, no, if you write this, people are going to get an idea that reaches 2 million people and don't spend over 40,000 reais, because that's what you have. So you have to be very respectful to your constraints. And the last paragraph that seems a little silly even is really important. You have to commit to the moment you're going to present this thing. And so every Mesa has a deadline. Every Mesa has an actual hour where you present it to the outside world. We can talk more about the importance of presenting to the outside world, but not now. And I think one of the things that I've learned as well is that a lot of people, when they first deal with a challenge, they feel that they are looking for the perfect solution. The perfect solution does not exist. What you should be looking for is an excellent solution. And that is really important, to be looking for an excellent solution, right? If I believe that the work that I'm doing, the energy that I'm putting should be serving my community, it should be really good. So that's what I would ask you guys to always look for. And in our view from Mesa, this should be considering all components and layers and variables and desires and realities and everything else that influences the existence of something or not. There's so much that goes into making something live in the world. And for us, this is the only solution that matters. Any good solution that left out a small part, like we really designed this product, it's amazing, but we didn't think of distribution, we didn't think of logistic. Someone else is going to think about logistic later. That's not the way we think. And that's why doing it in 5 days really matters to us. Because we are a method for solving complex problems. And complex things are things that have many interrelated components. And they are usually interrelated, right? So you need every single piece of knowledge and skill that you need, that problem needs in order to be solved. And that's why you need a time frame. If you don't lock a certain time frame, you are never going to get every single piece of knowledge and every skill that you need. And if you don't get every single piece of knowledge and skill that you need, then from our perspective, it's not a good solution. But there is one thing that very often, when we are in a Mesa, people start feeling. And they start feeling that they have to hurry. When that happens, the thing that we will do is ask people to stop everything, to take 20 minutes, which is like a huge amount of time when you have a deadline coming at 5. Usually that happens at 3 p.m. And people were like, I need to do this, I need to do this very quickly. That's not the invitation you want to make to people. The worst decision you can make is a hurried decision. But what happens when you are able to not hurry and look at your deadline is that you become sharper than you have ever been. At that point, the amount of information you are all sharing, because you've been together sharing that during 5 days, and the amount of information that you are able to extract from yourself, Mesa really believes in the science. There is a whole new set of studies on intuition that look at intuition not as something that like connects you to the divine and you grab from outside of you. Intuition is your ability to grab from inside of you things that you built from experience that you are not yet able to verbalize. They're so true, they're so ingrained in experience that you have that you can't even talk about them until that moment that we created Mesa, that we are able to make a problem owner, to make a specialist say, this is not going to work like this because of that. We make some of the most important decisions of every Mesa 5 minutes before we present. And this is quite shocking because a lot of times people feel like, no, it's going to be ready by Friday morning and then we rehearsal and then we present. No, it's going to be ready at 5 when we promised it would be ready. I love this quote from José Saramago, a Portuguese writer. Let's not hurry, but let's not waste time. So that is the kind of fast that we talk about when we do a Mesa. We are not, never hurry, but never waste time. I think, I'll come back to this. One other thing that I just want to share, I think it's my final slide. We have a real respect for praxis. And I think, and I was talking to Lauren about this just now before we started, one of the ways I feel Mesa is very successful in curbing bias is that we always look at what people are doing, what they are making, in order to make a decision of whether we want that person or not. My feeling is that any other variable, gender, race, where that person studied, how many prizes that person got, if they traveled or not, if they've been invited to festivals or not, that is really bound to bring up all your bias. It's when you look at what people made that you were able to say, this person has the muscle that I need to solve this challenge. And so we have a lot of respect for knowledge that was brought by those who make decisions and live with the consequences of the decisions they make. Because when you make things, they exist, and you have to live with the consequences of the decisions that you made. I think this is my very last slide, and I love this idea, and I want to leave it with you guys, that when you enter a Mesa, we don't want people to bring a lot of their convictions. It's like, no, I'm sure of this, I'm sure of that. I don't want people to be so sure about anything. They haven't even learned all the aspects that they need to learn. But there is this really powerful thing that we all carry, which is convictions that we built from really trying things out, from really experiencing things. These convictions are ingrained in your body. And once you have enough of them, you are able to achieve things in a much faster way. That's it. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about Mesa, Mesa School is our platform, guys.